Good Muslim is the one who avoids harming the Muslims with his tongue and hands. Good Muslim is the one who avoids harming the Muslims with his tongue and hands. Good Muslim is the one who avoids harming the Muslims with his tongue and hands.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. Assalatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah. Dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, welcome back to this wonderful silsila, The Ideal Muslim. And for those of you who are always joining us, you know that we are covering different topics that affect the life of a Muslim and how to become that ideal Muslim, insha'Allah Azza wa Jal. Before we go into the topic of discussion, in fact it is a continuation of our last episode regarding modesty, more Madani pearls and encouragement, motivation for ourselves to become those modest Muslims, inshallah Azza wa Jal. Please make good intentions, as the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has stated, Niyatul mu'mini khayrun min amalihi. The intention of a believer is better than his action. Don't delay, make those good intentions today, make them now that I'm watching. I'm listening to the silsila of Madani Channel for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, for the pleasure of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What I learn, I will try my best to act upon that and to teach others as well. This is so important for us. If we truly want to taste the sweetness of our ilm, of our knowledge, this comes with practicing it with good intentions. And don't forget to transfer this knowledge. If you remember even one thing from this silsila, from this episode, transfer it to whether your spouse or your children or your parents or your neighbors, fellow Muslims, inshallah Azza wa Jal. If you do that and that person practices, you will also get a share of that reward, subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Grab your notebooks, your pens, take down the important Madani pearls, the advices, and you can always refer to that at a later stage. Alhamdulillah Azza wa Jal, there are so many beautiful narrations, blessings, bounties and benefits for the fortunate Muslims who recite abundant amounts of Durood-e-Pak, salawat or salutations upon the cream of creation, the owner of Jannah, the knower of the unseen, the intercessor of the Ummah, our beloved Master Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Listen to this beautiful narration that the person who recites Durood-e-Pak once, Allah Azza wa Jal will grant that person 10 blessings, 10 rewards, will forgive 10 sins, and will elevate that person's status by 10 times. Allahu Akbar. Just for reciting one time. And the shortest duroods you can get is Sallallahu ala Muhammad or Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So instead of engaging in unnecessary conversations which have no benefit for us, in useless activities, make the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, recite Durood-e-Pak and salawat. You will see these benefits in this world, in the grave and the hereafter, insha'Allah ta'ala. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. As I mentioned earlier that this episode is part 2 of our topic of discussion, which is modesty, haya. I would like to narrate a very beautiful narration for our encouragement. Why do we narrate these incidences, these parables, so that we can get some kind of motivation to practice? And as we mentioned in our previous episode, that a Muslim is naturally modest, and any Muslim that is immodest, immoral or is shameless, he is living against his nature. In the blessed era of the second Khalifa of Islam, the second successor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq al-A'zam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, there was a young man. He was very pious and he used to do a lot of ibadat, a lot of worship. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu would also be surprised as to how much of ibadat and worshipping this young pious individual used to do. After performing his Isha Salah in the masjid, this pious young man would go home towards his old father, his elderly father. On the way, there was a beautiful woman, but he would not pay any attention towards this lady. And he would lower his gaze, he would look down, not paying any attention, and he would move on towards his elderly father. Finally, one day, he looked towards her, and he goes towards her. As he reaches to her door, he remembers the thought-provoking ayah, the verse of the Holy Quran in Surah Al-A'raf, verse 201. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إن الذين اتقوا إذا مسهم طائف من الشيطان تذكروا فإذا هم مبصرون. Translation from Kanzul Iman. Indeed, those who fear get alerted whenever a temptation from the devil troubles them, and they understand immediately. Allahu Akbar. When he remembered this verse of the glorious Quran, his heart was overpowered with the khawf, with the fear of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, and he fell down unconscious. When much time had passed, and his father was worried that my son has not arrived home, has not returned, and he went out with some others looking for his young son. After a lot of searching, he finds him, but he's still unconscious. So with the help of those people, they bring him home. Finally, he regains consciousness. But again, he remembers this verse of the Holy Quran. And again, his heart, his mind is overpowered with the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, to such an extent that he screams out aloud and immediately passes away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. May Allah Azza wa Jal forgive us and make us modest for His sake. Ameen bijahi Nabi al-Ameen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nevertheless, he passes away, ghusl is done, and in that same night, the janazah salah is performed, kafan and dafan, he is buried. In the morning, when this incident is related to Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he goes to the father to express his condolences. And he says that, why did you not inform me last night? I also would have attended the janazah salah. Allahu Akbar. This elderly father, he humbly says that, O Amirul Mu'mineen, O Commander of the believers, I thought about your rest. I kept your resting time in my mind, and I did not find it suitable to complain to you or to disturb you. Allahu Akbar. He radiallahu ta'ala anhu then said, take me to his grave. Take me to this young person's grave. When he reached there, he read the following verse, وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Translation from Kanzul Iman. And for one who fears to stand before his Lord are two gardens. Allahu Akbar. Do you know what happened next? When Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu recited this glorious verse of the Holy Quran, that young man who had passed away from inside his grave started to talk and said, O Amirul Mu'mineen, O Commander of the believers, indeed my Rabb Azza wa Jal, my Lord Azza wa Jal has granted me those two paradises. Allah, Allah. Think about this. Yes, Allah Azza wa Jal had given that young person the ability to speak even after he is passing away. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Remember, Shaitan, Satan, he is the humiliated one, and he wants to take maximum people with him to be thrown into Jahannam. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us from the punishments of hell. Protect our children, our future generations as well, from the hellfire, from its punishments and the punishments of the grave. But he has a job. Shaitan's job description is this, that to deceive people, to enter evil whispers into their hearts, into their minds, and take maximum with him to Jahannam. And he does this through different means, through different ways, tricks and traps and illusions, just so that we can lose our iman. May Allah protect our iman. May Allah protect the iman of our family members, our children, all Muslims, and our future generations. Ameen bijahin Nabi al-Ameen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The glorious Quran has mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 168-169, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Translation from Kanzul Iman. And do not follow the footsteps of the devil. Indeed, he is your open enemy. For he will only instruct you towards evil and immodesty, and that you fabricate matters concerning Allah, what you do not know. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So certainly Shaitan, these are his job descriptions, these are his methods and his ways to put a person into kufr, which is disbelief, or polytheism, shirk, towards associating partners with Allah Azza wa Jal, wrong beliefs concerning Allah Azza wa Jal, disobeying of one's parents, disunity in the family, disconnect in family relationships, indulging in all the sins of backbiting and pride and riyaqari, showing off, and jealousy and malice and hatred and anger, and all these evils, these spiritual ailments. Shaitan wants us to be indulged in these things. We must immediately understand, and we must immediately be aware that these are the deceptions of Shaitan, and we will not get any benefit by following in the footsteps of Shaitan. Allah is telling us, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ, and do not follow in the footsteps of Shaitan. Rather, follow in the footsteps of the awliya Allah, the pious predecessors, rahimahumullah ta'ala. Follow in the footsteps of the Ahlul Bayt, of the Sahaba Kiram alayhim ridwan. Follow in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. His life is a perfect example for us. The Sunnah is the perfect lifestyle. We need to bring this into our lives. If we truly want that sukoon, because let's face it, everybody wants something. Besides money or influence or power or wealth or properties, besides all these things here, each person wants sukoon, tranquility, peace, happiness. That happiness we can only find in the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal, in the obedience of the beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in nothing else, in nothing of this materialistic world. Because the more you chase this dunya, the more you chase materialism, the further it gets away from you. But if we fill our hearts with the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal and obedience to Him and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will see how your heart gets filled with happiness, with tranquility, with peace of mind as well. Our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has stated, there are three people for whom Allah Azza wa Jal has made paradise forbidden. Allahu Akbar. Has made paradise prohibited for these three people. And who are they? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, the first person is one who always drinks alcohol, who always drinks wine. The second is one who is disobedient to his parents. And the third is a dayyus. Dayyus is that husband who does not worry about his wife, where she is going, what she is doing, with whom she is going. So he doesn't care, he doesn't worry. This unfortunate person will also be not permitted to enter into Jannah. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Modesty is not only in how we dress, it's also in how we behave, what we say, how we converse with others, how we speak, how we think as well, and about protecting the gaze, the eyesight. In Surah An-Nur, verse 30 and 31, it is mentioned, translation from Kanzul Iman, command the Muslim men to keep their gaze low and to protect their private organs. That is much purer for them. Indeed, Allah is aware of their deeds. And command the Muslim woman to keep their gaze low and to protect their chastity and not to reveal their adornment except what is itself apparent, and to keep donning or putting their head coverings over their bosoms and not to reveal their adornment. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We all know the Queen of Paradise, the Lady of Paradise, Sayyida Fatima radiyallahu ta'ala anha. After the apparent demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, she was overtaken by grief that nobody saw her smile anymore. And after the apparent demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, she never smiled except for one time. And that was just before she could pass away. Listen to the reason for this. All her life, the Lady of Jannah, the Queen of Paradise, Sayyida Fatima radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she certainly concealed her body from the eyes of strange men. But she was worried that when I pass away and they shroud my body, that I don't want anybody to see my body even at that time. Allahu Akbar. Once, Sayyida Asma bint Umais radiyallahu ta'ala anha said, in Ethiopia, I saw people using branches. They would tie the branches of the trees together and make a type of box for the deceased to be placed in. And then they would cover this with a cloth. When Sayyida Fatima radiallahu anha, she heard this, her Sayyida Asma bint Umais radiallahu ta'ala anha, she went and took some dry date tree, the branches, she put it together and she made a sort of box. And she presented this to the court of Sayyida Fatima radiallahu anha. When Sayyida Fatima radiallahu anha, when she saw this, she became extremely happy. And that's when she smiled. Allahu Akbar. In fact, this is the only time people saw her smiling after the apparent demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Nobody has ever seen such a unique type of modesty. Subhanallah. Despite the fact that she was grief-stricken regarding the apparent demise of her father, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nevertheless, she still maintained her veiling. She still maintained her modesty as well. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. And in this manner, she was buried as well, away from the eyes of the people. Allahu Akbar. Let's listen to this beautiful narration and thought-provoking as well. Since we're talking about the gaze, modesty of the gaze, of the sight, is not to look at anything evil. Of the hearing is not to listen to anything evil. Of the tongue is not to speak anything evil, obscene languages or vulgarism as well. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has stated that the gaze, the sight, is one of the poison-tipped arrows of the devil. Hujjatul Islam, Sayyidina Imam Muhammad bin Ghazali rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi has mentioned in his famous book Minhajul Abidin that Sayyidina Isa Ruhullah ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salatu wassalam has said, protect yourself from unlawful gazes because it sows the seed of evil desires in the heart. And this evil desire makes that person who gazes unlawfully suffer from trials and tribulations, from mischief and fitna. Allahu Akbar. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us from the fitna of this world, from the fitna of the people, and from our own nafsul ammara. It is mentioned that the glorious Quran states in Surah An-Nahl verse 90, وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ. Translation from Kanzul Iman, and forbids from the shameful and evil and rebellion. We must also do this, my dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel. Don't we want to become that ideal Muslim? Don't we want to become that practicing Muslim? So modesty must become part and parcel of our lives. And inshallah ta'ala, we will be able to achieve that status of becoming an ideal Muslim. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I just mentioned now that modesty of the tongue is not to speak obscene languages, vulgarism, or anything dirty. Sayyiduna Ahmad bin Yahya rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi has said that once Sayyiduna Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, the leader of millions of Shafi'is around the world, he passed through the marketplace where there were lamps being sold. We began to walk behind him, and we saw there was an individual, there was a man who was speaking indecent and immoral things to a scholar. Sayyiduna Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi turned his attention towards us and he said, protect your ears against foul language, obscene language. Allahu Akbar. Protect your ears against foul language, because the one who listens to it intentionally, deliberately, it is as if he is also involved in this curse. And it is only for a foolish individual, for a foolish person who has a great desire to fill his mind with filth and with dirt. If you do not indulge in this filth, then you are fortunate. And the one who agrees or likes such evil becomes unfortunate. May Allah Azza wa Jal help us to protect our organs, our limbs against His disobedience, and help us to obey Him using our bodies, our limbs, our organs as well, only for His obedience and the obedience of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyiduna Shu'aib bin Sa'id radiyallahu ta'ala anhu says, whoever derives pleasure, whoever gets pleasure out of indecent talks, his mouth will discharge blood and pus on the day of judgment. Now I ask you, my dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, that we have certain people who are regarded as comedians. They want to make us laugh, but in many cases they use vulgarism, they use obscene languages, they use foul, dirty languages, and we get entertained by this. Allahu Akbar. If we are entertained and we like this, then we are part of those who are unfortunate, according to Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. And if we derive pleasure from these comedians and these comedies, then will we also not suffer this fate, that on the day of judgment, blood and pus will be oozing out of our mouths? May Allah Azza wa Jal forgive us. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us against this calamity and this misfortune. But think about this, the next time we play those clips, or we read about it in the papers or on our phones or our emails, something which contains vulgarism or obscene, foul, dirty languages. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It is also mentioned by Sayyidina Ibrahim bin Maysarah rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, that a person who uses vulgarism, obscene, foul and dirty language will appear on the day of judgment with the face of a dog. Allahu Akbar. These are not fairy tales. These are authentic narrations. Maybe here we can't see it happening, but on the day of judgment, what the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said to happen, that will certainly occur, and we will see it there. May Allah protect us against these misfortunes and being from amongst those who are unfortunate. Hakim al-Ummah Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi has said regarding this narration that I quoted now, that keep in mind that all human beings, they will be resurrected from their graves with human faces. And then the faces of some people will become deformed when they reach the plains of judgment. The Madani Hashr, the field of gathering, when they are reaching there, then their faces will become deformed. May Allah protect us. It is mentioned in the glorious Quran, in Surah An-Nur, verse 24. يَوْمَ تَشْهَدُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَلْسِنَتُهُمْ وَأَيْدِيهِمْ وَأَرْجُلُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Translation from Kanzul Iman. On the day when their tongues and their hands and their feet will testify against them regarding what they used to do. Allahu Akbar. If we are immodest, if we are immoral, if we are shameless, and we are committing immodest and immoral activities and actions, what will happen to us, my dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel? On the Day of Judgment, the ulama ikram have mentioned that some people, they will have the audacity, they will be so bold that they will deny having done wrong in the world, because they had done it in private, in secret, and nobody was there to see it. Nobody was there to witness it. I mean, Allah Azza wa Jal brings them in His court and they say that, Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, where's the witnesses? What proof do you have that we did this? Allahu Akbar. It will be told to them that we will bring such witnesses against you that you can never deny. Their mouths will be sealed. They will not be able to talk. And the power of speaking, the power of speech will be given to their limbs, to their hands, to their feet as well, to their legs. And their own body parts will testify against them. And when this person can talk again, he will scold his body parts and his limbs and say that I was trying to protect you from the fire of hell. Why did you testify against me? Why did you act as witnesses? And the body parts will say, they will reply that we were ordered by Allah Azza wa Jal, we couldn't do anything. Allahu Akbar. Therefore, the next time we want to engage in any immodest or immoral activity, let us ponder, let us think about these things, my dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, that on the Day of Judgment, we have to reveal these things in front of the entire creation, each and everything we did, each and everything we said. If we truly want to change ourselves, I will urge you, join this beautiful Madani movement of Dawat Islami. Insha'Allah ta'ala, you will see its positive effects, positive results, insha'Allah ta'ala. Ameen bijahin Nabil Ameen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Good Muslim is the one who avoids harming the Muslims with his tongue and hands. Good Muslim is the one who avoids harming the Muslims with his tongue and hands. Good Muslim is the one who avoids harming the Muslims with his tongue and hands.